Wagner group starting mutiny. I call them. Vicky Wald Wagner. Hey, hot dog boy, why you do this? First of all, don't call me hot dog boy. But that's how I found you, selling hot dogs. But now I am in charge of Wagner mercenary forces. They escalated quickly. And we have been fighting your war in Ukraine. Duh, and thanks for that. And the war is dumb and 20,000 of my men are dead. So what? They're all criminals that you fired a rocket attack on. So we've taken over 2 military bases and we're heading to Moscow. Yikes, that's very bad. Okay, what do you want? Take over military, get rid of idiots in charge, and that includes me. Hold, please. It's a Ukraine. Not now. This is great. You're making Russia look like idiots. I'm trying to fix that, and now is a good time to... And thank you, Wagner, for helping us. Help you? If we stay in this war, we want to destroy you quicker. Oh, well, that's not so great. Yellow Belarus. Hey, Wagner, how about you just don't attack Moscow? You know what, Belarus, I like you. We turn around. Whoa, nobody saw that coming.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz with the Monday Mix-Up. And there's a lot to go over. If you're not aware, over the weekend, Russia had a little mini coup. Didn't last very long. We're gonna get into what we know there, because it is Russia, and we know how Putin definitively controls any narrative coming out of there. So it's kind of hard to determine what's truth, what's fact, what's propaganda, what's BS, but we do know he's shaking in his boots. Well, let's get started with a little news recap. See you in 2 and 2.
It's Monday night, and here's what happened. The old saying goes, there is no honor among thieves, and the country of Belarus is racking up a whole bunch of Russian defectors that happen to have a lot of military experience. Wagner's leader has accepted exile in Belarus, and Putin told his military, along with the Wagner mercenaries, that you either pledge allegiance to Russia or you live in exile in Belarus. I don't know, man. You sure about that? Are you sure about that? The state of Texas and now pushing into Missouri and down into Florida is experiencing a massive heat wave. To quote the tour of Hadestown that just rolled into Texas, it's hotter than a crucible, it ain't right, and it ain't natural. If you live in one of these areas, please remember that heat compounds on itself. So if you go outside to go on a little jog or something and you get hot, you might not be able to cool down to the temperature that you need to. It is extremely important that you stay hydrated, you stay inside if you can. The Texas grid has held so far, but it is experiencing record high demands for electricity. I don't know where it started that the 19-year-old who went on the Titan sub with his father was scared and didn't want to go and was forced to go, but his mother did an interview this weekend saying that she was actually supposed to go on the Titan with her husband, and her 19-year-old son had begged to take her spot. He's a Rubik's Cube enthusiast, and he wanted to solve a Rubik's Cube 2 miles under the water. There's a 3 million square kilometer gravity hole in the Indian Ocean, and they think it might have been caused by plumes of molten rock that came from the remains of an ancient ocean bed. Stay out of the water, and I will see you tomorrow.
Now we're going to discuss the 19-year-old a little further down in the show. But let's not forget that his mother is a psychologist, and it was the aunt who stated that he was terrified. So I'm a little on the fence. Because I have questions as to why didn't the mother have I know she's grieving, but were you taking time to put together a statement? It seems a little off to me. Maybe perfectly fine and above board, but it seems a little off. And before we move any further, because I've seen this narrative going around way too much. First of all, MAPS, minor attracted people, aka pedophiles, are not a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. There is no movement for them to be added to that community by the people who are within the community. So this new conspiracy theory that the MAP flag is a part of the progressive pride flag is false. And here's the breakdown.
Pink and white stripes on the Progress Pride flag do not represent minor attracted persons like some posts on social media claim. According to all of our sources, the blue, pink, and white stripes represent transgender people. Here's why there are 3 colors for this one group. According to the Smithsonian, the trans pride flag was created in 1999 by Monica Helms, an activist and a U.S. Navy vet. She used blue because it's the color traditionally used for males, and pink because it's the color traditionally used for females, while white was used to represent people who are intersex, transitioning, or have an undefined gender. Here's a quick gender identity lesson. Gender identity is a person's internal sense of being male, female, or something else. Gender expression is the way that somebody communicates their gender identity through behavior, clothing, hairstyles, voice, or body characteristics. According to the American Psychological Association, a transgender person is someone whose gender identity, gender expression, or behavior does not conform to that typically associated with the sex to which they were assigned at birth. So, what about the other colors on the Progress Pride flag? Here's a chart of what each color stands for. None of the colors are representative of minor attracted persons.
I do declare. Now, Jack Smith has been working overtime. Judge Cannon is being Judge Cannon. But have you really paid attention to this revolving door of Trump attorneys? Now we know that Trump has a problem paying bills. We know that Trump is very visibly the worst client any PR firm or legal firm could ever have, hands down. But did you know this about quite a few of Trump's attorneys?
7 Trump lawyers have either testified to Jack Smith's grand jury or they have met with federal investigators. And it seems like these attorneys are starting to get worried about going down with the ship.
Seems like there are a lot of people who are concerned about going down with the ship, but especially these attorneys. We already know that Rudy Giuliani has been censured. We already know that other attorneys have taken deals and spoken directly with the Department of Justice. But Trump holds about as much water as a colander, none at all. And although there is attorney-client privilege, I don't think anybody wants to kind of be an accessory after the fact, and nobody really wants to cover for someone who's violated the Espionage Act, who's played extremely funny games with their taxes. And so much more. So much more. But let's get updated on what Mr. Smith has been up to regarding Old Donny Boy.
Good morning. I am here to tell you about the new developments and the new filings that Jack Smith made last night because he's a motherfucking ninja. Now, the first filing that Jack Smith made was regarding Walt Nada's trial date, as well as Trump's trial date. He asked for both trials to be moved back to December 11th, 2023, which just so happens to be my oldest son's birthday. What a present. He also filed a sealed witness list, which includes a list of people that Trump, as well as Walt Nada, cannot speak to, well, about the case. He also asked for the pretrial conference to be under CPIA, which means there has to be a level of security clearance for the attorneys or the people that are looking at the documents and the actual evidence in the case. Basically, all in all, Jack Smith was like, the Trump legal counsel has not obtained security clearance at this point. They're still going to have to look at this information, and we're going to have to bump the date regarding this all because they haven't gotten security clearance yet. And apparently it is not a quick process. So Jack Smith was like, I'm going to be like Santa Claus, and I'm going to give you a little treat. Here, I'm going to give you some extra time. And now I know that people are probably going to be like, oh my God, August to December? What the fuck is going on? I told you in the beginning that the trial would not take place in August no matter what. There is too much for them to do because of this being regarding classified documents for it ever to have hit an August trial date. December, very more realistic. Merry Christmas. Last, but certainly not least, and probably the juiciest bit of tidbit that came out of this entire filing, the witness list is 84 people long. Oh man, that's good. Anyways, have a beautiful Saturday.
Now we know that there's going to be some legal shenanigans. Trump's team is going to try to keep pushing this, especially when it comes to security clearances, etc. If I were on the legal team, I would be terrified of showing Trump anything. I would try my best not to really show him anything. But my biggest concern is that witness list. And the reason is, let's not forget, Miss Ultra MAGA herself, Judge Cannon. And remember the whole special master thing months ago, and it had to go to a higher court, and her decision had to be overturned because she just does not care about her career. She is one of those that she's going to be far more loyal, what she's shown thus far, to Trump than the justice system. But she's staying true to form. Take a look at her latest ruling.
So Judge Cannon just made her first ruling, and it was exactly everything we knew it would be. She is attempting to deny special counsel's request to file 84 potential witnesses under seal. She wants those witnesses' names to get out. And she's blaming the media. This is an attempt to witness tamper before the actual trial. She's trying to get those names released so that they can be threatened by the Trump organization and Republicans. She wants to give time for them to dig dirt up on them. She just shows her ass so blatantly.
Now we already know. When the search warrant was executed at Mar-a-Lago, Trump had no problem releasing the names of FBI agents, putting them in danger, putting large neon glowing targets on them. He does not want to go to prison. He does not want to face the consequences of any of his actions. And even if he doesn't say those names publicly, we know people within his inner circle that will. And one of them shares a name with him and has a podcast. Now on to the story that just keeps on storing. It just keeps on giving, although we don't want it to keep giving. Oceangate. Let's roll that footage.
It's come to light that the 19-year-old who died on the Titanic submarine, Suleiman Dawood, didn't want to be there in the first place. The young boy was apparently terrified of making the trip, and he only agreed to go on it with his dad, Shahzada, for Father's Day to please him. This is what the boy's aunt said.
He had a sense about things, and he had a sense that this was not okay, and he was not very comfortable about doing it. He was very, very not into doing it, but it was a Father's Day thing. It was a bonding experience, and he wanted the adventure of a lifetime, just like his father.
So there's a Titan submarine. We honestly had no idea what would happen in the days to come. We're on the platform right now, about to get inside the submarine. It's getting real. Jeez, I'm a little nervous now, boys. Hey, yo. We're inside the submarine right now. Got the owner right back there. When you go in the submarine, someone on the outside literally bolts you shut. All right, guys. We're sealed. We're in here. I guess we're about to go head first like this. Titan is ready for dive. Oh, we're going right now? Oh, we're doing it. Oh my Jesus. You're good. We are all upside down right now, you guys. Look at that. We're underwater. Stockton, what are you using to control the submarine? If you're chasing big dreams and pushing your limits, obviously dangerous things can happen. I had an unbelievable experience. I met some incredible people. I'm taking home memories that I would hold dear to my heart for the rest of my life.
Stuff I'm about to tell you, I haven't seen any other videos. I'm sure you have all heard about the father and son who turned down seats on the ill-fated mission. They gave an interview with CNN where they talked about some of the red flags.
An exchange with Stockton Rush in April. He says, quote, have space on mission 1 and 2 last minute. Price is $150 per person. You reply, I'll check my schedule and see if I can make it work. 3 days later, he says, any luck. At one point, he actually traveled to Vegas to see you, to try to meet with you, to close the deal.
He said he was coming in on a two-seater experimental plane that he built. And I started to think about, he's coming in on a two-seater experimental plane to pitch me out to go on a 5-seater experimental sub that he built down to the ocean floor to see the Titanic.
I know, right? This guy was just like building shit in his backyard. And that's fine if you're the only person that's going to be taking that risk. But he was flying around the country begging people. This vehicle was in no way, shape, or form ready for commercial tourism. That father and son narrowly escaped death, but they're not the only ones. You guys know Jake, the treasure hunter. He's got like 14 million subscribers on YouTube. Jake was scheduled to go down to the Titanic on mission 3 just days before the tragedy occurred. He's got a great video on YouTube and you guys should all go watch it. His mission was scrubbed, supposedly due to weather, but as you watch his video, you will see that there were many, many problems. Jake also talked about meeting PH, who was already on the boat and who later died in the implosion. That man was a legend in deep sea exploration, and that is the one part that has baffled me. I get that Stockton Rush was blinded by his passion and ambition, and I get how the other passengers would trust him based on the load of shit he was selling them and based on the fact that he was going down and PH was going down. But I do not understand what PH was doing in that submersible. Sure, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but he was an expert. He already knew the things that we are just now seeing as red flags. But back to my personal connection to this, had the weather been clear, Jake would have been on the sub that imploded. It was the very next one, the very next dive where 5 people died. Not very long ago, some very close friends of ours lost their 9-year-old son to a glioblastoma. They fought like hell to save that boy, but when it became apparent that they weren't going to be able to, the Make-A-Wish Foundation contacted them. And their son's wish was to go on a river dive with Jake. He flew here and took all 3 of their children on a treasure hunt and said that he was honored to do it. He also flew back to Birmingham, Alabama for their son's funeral. I spoke with that little boy's parents this morning and they said that they felt like their son was looking out for Jake. Regardless of what you believe, that's a beautiful story, and I'm glad Jake's okay.
A few things to tackle here. As you can see, the aunt of that 19-year-old. Do I believe he wanted that adventure with his father? Absolutely. I also came across some information over the weekend that the mother stated that her and her husband had recently taken a flight and things could have gone catastrophically wrong. And she was a little nervous. And I'm like, okay. And the fact that, this was on Father's Day. That's why I'm leery of the mother's interpretation of things or her version. Because it seems very likely that this was always intended to be a father-son bonding thing. Instead of a husband-wife, this is your gift type of thing. And then to find out that Rush, the owner of Oceangate, not only had this experimental submersible, but also an experimental plane. It is almost as if he waited for adulthood to live out his childhood dreams. Now, I have a brother who loved Legos and actually any type of building blocks growing up, and he would make all of these different things. And he would play around in them. Great, expand your imagination while you're a child and figure out, what you want to do in life. Now, I do have a brother that's an engineer, different brother, but you figure things out. But Rush is kind of reminding me of quite a few men I've met throughout my life, where they come from a long line of fathers who forced upon their children what they always wanted in their childhood. So they never really had, none of these men in this long succession have ever had their own childhood in a way to express themselves. And instead of just taking up those hobbies and buying those things for themselves as adults, they pushed it onto their children. And Rush finally had an opportunity to do what he always wanted to do as a child, but he didn't want someone to tell him how to do it. Fine, if you want to do that on your own. I do realize in the realm of invention, there are plenty of inventors who have lost their lives to the hands of their own inventions, but it was just them. They were testing out their inventions to see if they would work and if they could push the limits on how far they could take their ideas. And there are others that realize what looks good on paper and sounds good when talking to friends is not always plausible, especially with the technology currently available. Rules and regulations exist for a reason. Just because you have great wealth does not mean you get to eliminate rules and regulations. Have we so quickly forgotten all of these train derailments all over the country because of decreased regulation thanks to former President Trump? Things are in place for a reason. Now, as we move into this next video, for all of you that had all of these think pieces regarding the billionaires, the wealthy that perished on this Oceangate submersible, where are your think pieces and your calls for empathy, sympathy, and a moment of mourning for the 70-year-old billionaire that perished over the weekend? Because once again, he decided to push the limits because their lives are so cushy that the only way for them to feel alive is to challenge death. And more often than not, death is going to win. Take a look.
Hey, to all of you that messaged me and commented and DM'd me last week calling me a soulless, heartless bitch because I dared to chuckle at a submersible of billionaires imploding. One of your best friends died yesterday. The world is short another billionaire. Where are all your videos? Because last week you had a lot to say about the world needs billionaires. How dare we not have sympathy for them? This guy turned 70, decided he wanted to play vroom vroom with big boy toys, and hit a wall, killing only himself. Where are your videos? Where are your tears? Because last week you had a lot of shit to say to me. Where's your moral outrage this week?
I can tell you where the moral outrage is. Nowhere. It wasn't about the billionaires in the submersible. It was about the fact that white people could see themselves in these white people. And the two white adjacent people per the caste system. And there were far too many marginalized, melanated people cackling at the fact that money does not equate intelligence. Because should the same people point out how stupid it was at 70 years old and not being a professional driver to decide to do something like that, then all of a sudden they'd be calling for humanity all over again. But when a teenage boy accidentally went to the wrong house and got shot through a door, these same people were scrambling to find out if he had a criminal history. But a few days later, when a white woman was shot because someone else driving the car pulled into the wrong driveway, excuse me, and backed out to turn around and she died, they weren't looking for anything on her. As long as they can see themselves in the other person, they can see humanity. When they cannot see themselves in another person, then that person is not human to them. They must justify why someone who looks like them decided to play judge, jury, and executioner, while someone who looked like them decided to finally live out their murderous fantasy. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. Now, younger generations. I am Gen X, not including y'all, millennials, zennials. Y'all can sit this one out. Y'all are constantly boomer research. You have a smartphone. You have a mini supercomputer in your hand. I need y'all to take your own advice. I need y'all to take your own advice. Because I am so tired of you all getting stuff wrong. It was bad enough that you didn't realize Ray J and Brandy were siblings. It's bad enough that you didn't understand that Snoop from Martha and Snoop, the cooking show, was once on trial for murder, and y'all trying to act like he's a pansy. But this saying that Dennis Rodman has gone woke, Dennis Rodman, y'all think I'm reaching? Y'all think I'm tripping? Take a look.
Well, them mad talking. Well, them mad talking.
Dear right-wing youngins, apparently y'all didn't know him, so allow me to introduce you to Dennis Rodman.
Spilling up some weed, control the steering with my knees. I look at you and smile and see you staring back at me. You make me feel at ease, I'm kinda stressed, so be my peace. I really wanna leave, I hate it here. Let's go to Greece, wait, or we can go to Paris, babe. But I like it in Sancho Pay. I know you never heard of it, but this is where the richest stay. I don't care what you say, I'm still gonna grip it in the States. They know we gripping DXB, I left the 5-palm tape.
It's us against the world, us against the ghetto, us against the police, us against this hoe. I'ma let you go, baby, can't you tell? I ain't hit another soul, I ain't bought another show. Sure, no, I take notes and learn a fee. Baby, I earn free. Daily, you turning me crazy. Now I made it out the hood. Do you love me or hate me? I think she love me, but just thinking there ain't enough for you crazy. I seen a nigga really fly away. Love me in a shy way. You know that food at home, date night, Friday. Kinda love, why they envy you? Damn, I got some gun, man, for any problem. I like the way that you're moving around me.
That's who he's always been, baby. Get over it. Or stay mad, whichever works for you.
Dennis Rodman has always been unapologetically Dennis Rodman. You cannot put that man in a box. Okay? He has always been very fluid in every aspect of his life that he allows us to see. That's the important part, that he allows us to see. He is definitively a parfait of a human, unapologetically. I think that that's beautiful and admirable. And I wish more people would be comfortable in living their best life and living their truth, because I think the world would be a lot happier than a bunch of miserable people trying to hide who they truly are and then getting mad and attacking other people for being authentic. Stop projecting onto other people and just be that. But younger generations, Stop finally catching a glimpse of someone and deciding that they've changed from something else. Just like y'all goofballs who were like, Garth Brooks is going woke. He's going to keep serving Bud Light. But Dylan Mulvaney, Garth Brooks has always stood on the right side of history. Has he been the best husband? Hell no. Have we reamed him for that? Hell yes. But when it comes to diversity and letting people live their lives, Garth Brooks has always been that one. Did y'all forget? He is the man that said, I got friends in low places. Like, and we know that woke is the new dog whistle for just calling something black. What did you think Dennis Rodman was going to be other than unapologetically in your face black? He makes no qualms about it. And let me just add this little caveat in here, because I'm so tired of y'all, but the drag queens in the trans community. Y'all didn't have a problem with Dennis Rodman when you was betting on them games, and you were a diehard Bulls fan getting the Bulls starter jackets and everything else and racking up the cash while he was racking up them points. You didn't give a damn when Prince was walking the earth singing to you and your woman and your mama too, and joking about how in high heels with a blowout and makeup, he could take your woman or you. So now all of a sudden, you're transphobic and a turf and everything else. These are people who've always been gender fluid. Y'all was rocking out, and yes, queen, all over anytime you saw Little Richard hit the screen. But now it's a problem. Y'all still pay money to go see Tyler Perry dressed up like Medea. You still cackle when you see a clip of Shanae. You still love Wanda from Jamie Foxx. You had no problem with Big Mama's house. I remember how sold out the tickets were for Tu Wong Fu and the Birdcage. Get it together. Y'all say that Mrs. Doubtfire is a part of your childhood, but now you got a problem with the same makeup, hair, and wardrobe being on somebody to go read to kids. Y'all ain't even reading to your damn kids, wondering why they walking around illiterate. Pish posh. Pish posh. Nothing is new on this planet, especially since so many people refuse to educate themselves. We are just going through a tremendous Groundhog Day. So anything that you are uncomfortable with, it's already been around. So at one point you were comfortable with it. So you need to go, like Michael Jackson said, and take a look at the man in the mirror and figure out why you are uncomfortable with it now. Is it because somebody told you to be? Let me go reduce my pressure. We're going to take a pause for the calls. I'll see y'all in 2 and 2. And on this break, share this podcast. Bring some friends with you. We'll be back.
I don't dance, I just love. I don't dance, I just love. I just love. I'm light as a feather, yeah baby I float. It's hard to look at my resume and not find a reason to toast. She throwing that thing in a circle, making it viral, I might just elope. Say listen.
All right, I see we still got people butthurt about all the jokes and memes about the little mini submersible. But you know what? I'm finna go and give it to you like I should have gave it to you in the first place. Because I don't think y'all realize how much restraint I done actually showed. First of all, I didn't tell not a damn one of them motherfuckers to jump their ass in that little dildo and let a man bolt their ass in with a cheap socket set from Harbor Freight. I also wasn't the one that woke up and said, I want to go see dead people. That little Xbox controller might help you convert 3rd and 30 on Madden, but it ain't gonna help you convert 4th and 3,500 feet. Come on now, you can't have comment over here and sense over here. You got to run them motherfuckers together for it to be effective. We all gonna die one day, but I'd be damned if I stand up and volunteer as tribute. Seriously, who the fuck you trying to be? T'Challa? That was a vibrator you got in, not vibranium. I don't never want to have them type of problems where I got so much money, I got to figure out how I'm gonna get on the episode 1,000 Ways to Die. And there's one thing about me, when I do die, you ain't gonna have to spend $250,000 to bury my ass. Just cremate me and pour my ass on the burn pile in the bank. Don't even think about spreading my ashes across no ocean or nothing. Hell, I don't even want my soul to drown. You say whatever the hell you want to say about it on red, but look here. You see that? That's air. That shit tastes good. Keep playing with me, because I give 0 fucks.
Y'all know I always have to throw in some comedy after we talk about some deep stuff. But now, for many people outside of Columbus, Ohio, or the state of Ohio, period, most people didn't hear about Jim Jordan until the whole sexual assault scandal at Ohio State University. Go Buckeyes. But Jim thought that he was just going to skate by and avoid accountability because the doctor at the center of all these things decided to commit suicide, because why face the consequences of your actions? Well, we got an update that's got little Jimmy Jim, not so Slim Jim, all ruffled. I mean, he's already looking at some sedition charges because we know he was involved in that Donald Trump self-coup, aka the January 6th insurrection, amongst other things. That's why he's a part of the crew that wants to keep wasting taxpayer time and money. But y'all pay attention to this. Because if old Jimmy boy goes missing, we know why. He done made himself go missing. Let's see if he's going to play Catch Me If You Can.
Oh shit, you guys. This is giant, huge. Do you see what's trending? Jim Jordan, let's check it out. This comes from Occupy Democrats. Breaking: MAGA rep Jim Jordan gets some of the worst news of his political career as the Supreme Court rules that 230 men can sue Ohio State University over the sexual abuse inflicted on them by the late university doctor. Hundreds of former student athletes have accused Dr. Richard Strauss of abusing them when he worked for the school from 1978 to 1998. Strauss committed suicide in 2005. The Supreme Court has ruled that the decision of the lower court, which allows the victims to see restitution, may stand as a defining chapter of Jim Jordan's life and perfectly encapsulates what a craven, evil man he is. According to the victims, university officials refused to stop Dr. Strauss despite raising numerous complaints to them. At the time, Jordan was an assistant wrestling coach at Ohio State and allegedly ignored the rampant abuse, presumably to help his career. Several victims say that he absolutely knew what was happening but failed to do anything about it. At least 4 former wrestlers named him as a defendant in their lawsuit against the university. Jordan has since smeared the victims as pawns in a political plot. The Supreme Court's decision threatens to thrust the entire sordid scandal back into the headlines at a time when Jordan is carving out a name for himself as President Biden's most adamant enemies and one of Donald Trump's staunchest allies. Boy, birds of a feather really do flock together, don't they? It's not hard to understand why Jim Jordan would flock to a deeply cynical fascist movement like MAGA. The man has no morals and no beliefs beyond furthering his own power. Drop a heart if you want Jim Jordan investigated. So yes, it is an actual thing. The AP News reported it, and I do agree with this poster up here. Jim Jordan did just drop a deuce. So not only does he have to worry about Jack Smith, our bestie, but now he's got 230 previous students who get to sue him for the crimes that he committed. They really don't care about children.
Don't ever forget that. It's never about the children. It never was and never will be. So let's watch him go bankrupt and then lock him up.
I'm going to go out on a slight little limb here, because even as stupid, and we know stupid as Donald Trump is, he's also slightly methodical. He puts people around him because of what they've done previously. And Jim Jordan's loyalty to covering up what happened at OSU, because you haven't heard Trump say anything bad about old Jimmy boy. Jimmy gonna crack corn for Trump. Come hella high water. Jim has shown that he will look like a plumb damn fool in public to cover up for problematic people who will be the end of decency and humanity and plausibly the United States. He doesn't care. As long as he can still profit and as long as he can have pseudo power, he doesn't care. If he can hold on to the cloak of the person who is the most powerful, he's going to do it. He's going to do it wholeheartedly. And the GOP is acting as if they are in a remake of The Godfather, but the dumb thrift store version of it. And speaking of the GOP, you know, they're trying so hard to have all these gotcha moments regarding the plea deal that was negotiated regarding Hunter Biden. Now we know when it's federal charges, they build an immaculate case regarding you. Okay. They're not just rushing because of an election. They're not just rushing to appease the public. They're like, we want to really make sure that a crime was committed and who actually committed the crime. And we want to slam dunk because we want this person off the street because they're pretty high level. And if we take them off the street, that's the trickle down economics that's going to happen. The rest of these people, yeah. But their latest gotcha moment in saying that, here's the weird thing. They say that Joe Biden is Sleepy Joe and has dementia, doesn't know what's going on, and he doesn't even know what day it is or where he is. But then also he's this prolific crime boss. Now, I know that there is a mafioso that pretended to be crazy for years to get away with things, but they're not even saying he's pretending. They're legitimately always trying to show proof that he's not all there in the head, as if we can't see Trump. But I digress. But now they're saying that Hunter and Joe had this thing to intimidate other governments, specifically the Chinese government. Like, who is intimidating China? Who? China don't give a fuck about the rest of us, okay? China would get rid of the rest of us so that they could be at peace doing what the hell they want to do and not even bat an eye. But recently on Twitter, somebody asked $1 million question that I'm still waiting on the GOP to properly answer. Want to know what the question is? Of course you do. Let's take a look.
All right, everybody needs to see this. This is Brian Hopkins for Congress, and he has the perfect Joe Biden, Hunter Biden tweet of all time. I'm just going to read it. Let's say for 1 minute the Hunter Biden did send the text message in 2017. Let's say for 1 minute, assume that Joe Biden was sitting right there with Hunter while composing this message. Let's go even further and say Joe Biden told Hunter what to say in the text. What office did Biden hold in 2017? In 2017, what law did then private citizen Joe Biden break? Now let's assume that he did provide a product or even some assistance or something that was personal influence. I'm sorry, let's assume that it was paid for political influence. If Biden was paid for political influence while a private citizen, isn't that what lobbyists do every single day? Correct me if I'm wrong, but if Biden is guilty of all these things Republicans have stated above, isn't he only guilty of lying while not under oath? Isn't that exactly what Donald Trump did for 4 straight years? I fail to see the need for a congressional investigation. So again, what law did private citizen Joe Biden break in 2017? Please, I beg of you, please comment if you know.
Timelines are hard for the GOP. Timelines are hard. Because in 2017, who was the president? Donald John Trump. Who was the vice president? Michael, Mommy Can I, Pence. Joe Biden was not in politics in 2017. So what influence would he have had? How could he have strong-armed anyone? How could he have promised anything to another government? How? You know, that's like working for a company in HR as a hiring manager and then quitting and telling your bestie's child, yeah, I can get you hired on there. How? How? Especially since the rest of the department didn't like you at all and has all been replaced by new people that you have no connections with. You don't even have a phone number to get in contact with them. Because do you think that in 2017, after Trump spent 8 years condemning Barack Obama and beginning the whole Birthergate situation, do you think that he would have engaged in a quid pro quo with Joe Biden? Do you think they would have had some secret alliance, especially given how hard Trump has gone against Joe Biden, as Joe Biden has been POTUS? Are you now catching why conservatives are so terrified of their children being properly educated and why they're so terrified of colleges? Because they know the more educated people get, the more their numbers are going to dwindle. And if you notice, I generally speak in regards to conservatives and non-conservatives, because it's those ideologies that are problematic. Parties are going to switch to the end of time. And dear God, can we get the numbers up so we can stop this two-party system bullshit? Because historically, this country has not been a two-party country. When did y'all wake up one day and was like, we're going to cut this down to just 2 parties? We just have to have the grand old party and then the Democrats minus the Dixiecrats. Because did y'all forget about the Democratic Republicans, the Whigs, the Tea Party, the Green Party, the Pink Party? Like it's time to break away from this just two-party system. It's not working. It's not working. Like, why do y'all keep trying to make things work that don't? Y'all too comfortable with the struggle of this going on between the common man, the regular, schmegular citizen, and the United States federal government. Like, come on. And speaking of the federal government, do you know that for the first time in over 100 years, the Marine Corps may not have an official commandant? Let's talk to a vet about it.
For the first time in 164 years, the United States Marine Corps will not For the first time in 164 years, the United States Marine Corps will not have a confirmed commandant leading their forces. Senator Tommy Tuberville, seen here waiting to be the next fluffer on the set, has decided to institute a small little procedural rule in the Senate called a hold. Now, what that does is, in the past, whenever there were people that were being promoted to 07 or higher, those people would be grouped together, the Senate would vote on all of them at once, and they would get confirmed into those positions, and we would all move on with our lives. Senator Tommy Tuberville decides to put a hold. That means that every single person that is due to be promoted to 07 or higher has to be voted on with a voice vote in the Senate on an individual basis. As it stands right now, there are 260 people, one of them being the next Commandant of the Marine Corps, waiting for confirmation in the Senate. By the end of the year, it could be well over 600 people. It will take months to get through all of these names and confirm all of them into the positions that they have been recommended to fill. Now, why is Senator Tuberville doing this? Does he have some moral objection against mass confirmation of generals? No, because that's the way that it has always been. And he's been there for a minute and has done this. So what's his purpose? What's the point of all of this? Well, the point is he's upset that the Pentagon has a policy that says that any service member that's in a state that does not offer reproductive health care will be sent to other states to get that health care. It will not charge against their accrued leave balance, and the Pentagon will pay for their travel. He doesn't like that because Senator Tommy Tuberville, seen here cheering on the Republic of Gilead, hates fucking women. So, what's he going to do? Well, he's going to stonewall the appointment of generals in the United States military. I can see how this will not affect our combat readiness in the slightest. Nope, not even a little bit. This is a good... He's a petty little bitch, is what I'm saying. He's a petty little bitch. He hates women, so he's going to punish the entire United States military because of it. Fuck you, Tommy Tuberville. I hope every day when you wake up, there's a Lego in your shoe and your right rear passenger tire is flat.
I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Now I know that a lot of people don't like when us melanated folks get out and protest. There are folks that are not melanated that will go out, as they historically have, and try to do damage to our movements. They like to riot, they like to kill people, they like to cause damage, they like to cause harm, and sit back and go, see, look, the sun-kissed people, they're savages, they're bad, they're violent. Can't let them have too much anything. You give them an inch, they want to take a yard. And when they take a yard, look at what they do. But then turn around. And when the French are protesting for anything, and they take over a whole country, by any means necessary, to remind people that they have the power and not the politicians, and that they voted these politicians into power. You're like, yeah, that's what we need to do. You do. You need to stop acting afraid of the people whose salary you legitimately and literally pay. Y'all will get up in the faces of teachers and be like, I pay your salary. You have to do what I want. I don't want my child to learn this because I didn't learn it, and I'm stupid and I'm ignorant about it. So can't make my child smarter than me. Can't make my child more compassionate than me. Can't make my child humane. You can go and cuss out the 16-year-old at the Burger King because you didn't tell them no onions, so they didn't take the onions off at the register. You can go and curse out the cashier at your local Piggly Wiggly or Food Lion or Publix or Kroger. But you nut up when it comes to the people who you pay to do your bidding. You allow corporations and billionaires and millionaires to boss them around and tell them to do their bidding, which is a detriment to you as you sit there and lick the boots of these millionaires and billionaires. But given that how many people still have wash days and bath days, it's just abundantly clear that y'all like to taste the fucking dirt. And that's why you keep bootlicking. And you toxic red pill choking on ass bastard ass men that keep thinking that we women can't do something, prove us wrong. Put us in the position that we've earned to be there. And if we're going to fail, let us fail. And if we fail because of our gender, let us fail because of our gender. But we know it's not about gender. That's why we have different categories in sports, specifically the Olympics. We've gone over that history before on this podcast. Now, to cap off the night, let's get into this weekend activity over in Russia called a coup. Well, coup light, I guess. I'm guessing. I don't know. It's not like Putin is ever going to tell us the truth.
We now know what the deal was between Russia and the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group head, Yevgeny Prigozhin, will be exiled to Belarus. He's actually on his way there now. Meanwhile, Wagner fighters will return back to the front lines in Ukraine. They will be given amnesty. The criminal case against Prigozhin in Russia has been dropped. He's no longer facing charges. Remember, this deal was brokered by Lukashenko in Belarus. In any event, it shows how weak Putin is right now, that Prigozhin and the Wagner Group were able to almost get to Moscow without much opposition. And then Putin himself didn't even broker this deal. As always, I'll provide you updates on this and much more, so be sure to follow along for more. Especially since now I'm hearing that Ukraine's about to launch a major counteroffensive tomorrow.
Russian civil war coup attempt is over, maybe, kind of? Reports are now coming out that Wagner has halted their advance to Moscow and will be returning to their bases after Lukashenko, of all people, struck a deal with them. The deal reportedly will see Russia's defense minister and chief general replaced, while Wagner's leader and his fighters will get total legal immunity in exchange for not overthrowing the government. And if you're confused, I can assure you that everyone is. Seemingly a point of no return was reached today. They shot down 7 aircraft, occupied cities, humiliated Putin. Russia was blowing up their own bridges and oil depots and digging trenches in Moscow, which is why some say maybe the immediate situation is over, but the crisis is just beginning. It's now very clear how incredibly weak Putin is, and you can't get that cat back in the bag.
The Russian rebellion has ended via voice memo? This is what I've been able to gather so far, because there's a lot of propaganda involved with all of this, and with propaganda, there's a lot of people lying about stuff. Basically, the mercenary force known as Wagner that had invaded Russia today to remove the evil military leadership of the Russian Ministry of Defense got halfway to Moscow. They were 120 miles from the edge of the city of Moscow, which is the capital of Russia. At that moment, a few hours ago, a statement came out, not from the president of Russia, but from the president of Belarus, a different nation. The president of Belarus is a dictator named Lukashenko. He is an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Lukashenko stated that he had reached a deal with the head of the mercenaries, a man known as Prigozhin. In that deal, it was stated that no member of the mercenaries would be tried for treason, insurrection, mutiny, yada, yada, yada. Everyone was like, yeah, that sounds like some crazy ass propaganda. And that's when a voice memo came out from the leader of the mercenaries, Prigozhin, who then stated that he has accepted the deal, did not give too many more details, but stated that the troops will turn around and return to base. I have waited to make this update until I then saw video of the troops actually doing that. I have now seen video of Russian mercenaries packing up their bags and heading home. Everyone is confused. Nobody quite knows what just happened. And there's a lot of speculation about things. At least 13 members of the Russian military air force died because 6 helicopters were struck down and a fixed-wing aircraft. An oil depot was destroyed. There are videos of sporadic fighting and things of that nature. The biggest thing to take away from this is that Putin is on his back foot. This does not seem like something that Vladimir Putin himself was leading. So Putin might not be president of Russia for much longer. And there is historical precedent for things like this happening in Russia in recent history. You can look to 1991 in the Soviet Union. With that being said, as of right now, go enjoy your Saturday, I guess. That's what I have for you. Whew, go enjoy it, because I don't know anymore. I am rocking the patch hard. Gonna really need it. And I have a comedy show tonight in Philadelphia. So, if I see anything else, I'll try to let you guys know.
First of all, who actually was trusting Putin? We know how Putin operates. Now, today I saw a lot of conflicting information. First, before we move forward, I do want to apologize from the last broadcast because I am a stickler for proper pronunciation, but I am human and I do err. I had heard so many people say that it was Wagner. It is actually Wagner. My sincerest apologies. But the head of the Wagner group, there was one story saying that the offer was rescinded and he has no idea what his fate is today. I saw another report where he had released a voicemail or a voice note. Some people were calling it a voicemail. Some people were calling it a voice note. Not quite clear on it. Like I said, Putin has a strong hold on any information coming out of Russia, so it's very hard to determine what's fact and what's propaganda. But basically, he was saying that even in Belarus, he's not giving up being the head of the Wagner group, and that the Wagner group is not going to just integrate into the Russian army and help them move forward. If on Saturday, if you utilized Google Maps, you could see that once it came out that the Wagner group was retreating, these same roads were still blocked off. You couldn't use them. There's video of Russian people cheering on the Wagner group and taking pictures with Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner group. And they seem very happy that he had stepped in, but he's far worse than Putin. So I don't know if the coup is still going on, if he has plans to complete his mission. But if he was to take hold of Russia, it's not going to be a lovely day. It's not. And let's not forget that Germany decided to start securing oil from us here in the United States because of this. And as much as y'all like to misunderstand how oil prices go, when the Ukrainian war began, gas prices skyrocketed because the per barrel prices went up. So y'all think of the Middle East all the time when it comes to gasoline. That ain't the only place. So it's hard to figure out, but I wouldn't take the word of anybody from Belarus. Belarus guzzles the glizzy of Russia. That's like disrespecting me, and then my bestie calling you going, girl, she gonna forgive you under these circumstances. Why don't you meet us at such and such and such in place? Bitch, you about to get your ass beat. What? Why? If I didn't call you and say that I forgive you, or let's hash this, why would you? I swear for God. Like, yeah, no. Yes, sis. The Wagner group is far, far worse than Putin. Just like I don't think so many people realize that, yes, Kim Jong-un is a horrible person. But I need him to stay alive as long as possible, because his sister is worse than Annabelle. His sister is like Annabelle, Chucky, the bride of Chucky, and Chucky's kid came together and birthed her, okay? And then sent her to the Lovely Bones Academy of how to be a fucked up human being. And if y'all haven't seen the movie Lovely Bones and don't know the story of it, go watch it, then come back and rewatch this, then you'll get what I'm putting down. Like, Prigozhin and Kim's sister, we don't need them in charge of nothing, okay? Don't put them in charge of a menu. Don't put them in charge of a game night. Don't put them in charge of nothing. You know those movies where they portray the billionaires of like getting their rocks off by hunting the common man? That's them. That's some stuff they would do in real life for chuckles, okay? They would be sitting back eating hors d'oeuvres and eating snacks while you scrambling to get off an island that's in the middle of nowhere. You can't swim nowhere. There's no way to make a ship, a raft, nothing. But that's my 2 cents. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. And as always, thank you all for being here with me tonight. Tomorrow, I will be interviewing a lovely TikTok creator that I found who has done an impeccable job of educating himself and putting himself on an anti-racism journey. So make sure you tune in tomorrow to take a look. And if you follow me on TikTok, you will get more details between tonight and tomorrow. And if you don't, you should. Why are you not? Okay. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And really, really, really quickly, do not leave before you see this final video, especially if you are a Black woman or a Black femme presenting individual, because this is information you need to know. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be kind to one another. We only got one life to live.
A new study out suggesting that Black women should be screened earlier for breast cancer. Over the past few years, there's been a steady increase in breast cancer diagnoses in women under 50, with stark racial disparities in survival rates. While diagnosis rates amongst Black and white women in the United States is similar, Black women are 2 times as likely to die from breast cancer. Previously, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force had recommended yearly mammograms beginning at 50 years old. But now, based on a new study, they're suggesting it should begin at 40. Early detection is associated with overall higher survival rates. So if you're a woman between 40 to 49, make sure you schedule your mammogram. And if you know someone who should know about this information, be sure to share this video.